all my life, and I've taught at the university level all my life. But it was about 10 years ago when I met a fellow named Dr. Richard Matthias, who had spent his career looking at the therapeutic benefits of nutrition. And he was focusing on the First Nations diet in Canada and the North. And he's the one that sort of took me down the rabbit hole of ketogenic diets, and taught me that, in fact, the ancestral diet, our natural human diet before agriculture, was in fact a ketogenic diet. It's our natural healthy state. And as we return to that now with modern tools of cellular and molecular biology, now that we can do clinical trials in a robust, evidence-based way, we have this growing body of evidence that indicates that ketogenic diets are a very effective and powerful therapeutic to address metabolic disease. And when I say metabolic disease, that's sort of a general term that refers to increased obesity, especially mid-abdominal obesity, like the pot belly, and high blood sugar, unregulated blood sugar, which can lead to diabetes, and in inflammation. So I actually have a sort of slightly different model that I present in the book Biodiet that I've written, and I call it the axis of illness. It was sort of a takeoff on George Bush and his axis of evil. So the axis of illness, to me, if you look at chronic disease, and these are Western diseases that plague the Western world. So the most common diseases are heart disease and cardiovascular disease, including strokes, cancer, diabetes now, and Alzheimer's disease. These are all really lifestyle diseases that are very closely correlate with poor diet. And when I mean poor diet, that's a diet that is high in sugar and other high glycemic index foods like breads and pastas and so on. This high carbohydrate, low fat diet that we've been told to eat by our policymakers and government for decades now. It turns out there was never really any evidence to support that. It was more industry lobbyists, and we were trying to get people to eat what we were growing or raising. But if we look at it now with these new tools of science, we can see that for most people, and when I say most people, you're in Ireland, I'm in Canada, we can include all of the UK as well. We could include the United States, we could include Australia and so on. There's this sort of epidemic rates of obesity and the associated metabolic disease, which in the axis of illness, that to me is obesity, insulin resistance, which leads to that high blood sugar, and inflammation, which is at the root cause of cardiovascular disease. So the those three things are responsible for about 70% of all chronic disease, and are what we're treating in hospitals and what we're treating through medications and so on. It's just such a burden on society, and a complicating burden for COVID-19, as you see those same elements of the axis of illness are what create these poor outcomes in COVID-19. So yes, to answer your question, I've been interested in this in a long time. You can see I'm very passionate about it. But about 10 years now, I've been researching the therapeutic benefits of ketogenic diets for chronic disease, in specific